If you have elevated blood sugar or prediabetes, then probably one of your worst fears is that you're going to have to get rid of all your favorite foods. But what you might not know is that there are many small, easy changes you can make right now that will help your blood sugar and don't require eliminating any of your favorite foods. And I'm going to go over 10 of them today. 10 tips, 10 changes, whatever you want to call them. So get ready to be surprised and listen all the way to the end because tip number 10 is not what you'd expect. For those of you who are new here, I'm Julene Montgomery. I'm a board-certified holistic nutritionist, and I'm the creator of Sugar Draw RX group coaching program for people with prediabetes. Look in the description for more info. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start off the list with a few natural compounds and supplements that are really easy for you to check to make sure you're getting them in your diet, or you can easily add them in. Of course, always check with your doctor before starting something new, just in case. Okay, so first up is vitamin D. Yes, that's right. This simple vitamin is actually really important for blood sugar metabolism. In fact, one study shows that vitamin D supplementation improved insulin sensitivity by 54%. And vitamin D does something else. It helps lower inflammation, which is a big factor that can increase your risk for insulin resistance. So around 77% of Americans, that's like 3 out of 4 people, are deficient in vitamin D. So yes, your body has the potential to make all that you need, but that requires consistent sun exposure, and we aren't all great about doing that. So if you're wondering if vitamin D is a factor for you, you can actually test your levels really easily. There's even an at-home test that you can get off of Amazon, and I'll put the link down below if you want to check that out. If you're not getting sun exposure or eating foods like salmon and liver, then get a good supplement and retest often. Okay, so next up is the mineral chromium. We don't hear too much about chromium, but scientists have actually zeroed in on this mineral and figured out that it helps increase insulin sensitivity. So you probably know that insulin is the hormone that helps escort glucose or sugar out of your blood and into your cells. Well, chromium helps insulin do that better. So it doesn't increase insulin, it just improves the process. And this is proven. Okay, so in one study, a group of participants took oral chromium picolinate and saw their insulin sensitivity dramatically improve after only 6 weeks. And then when they discontinued the supplementation, their previous level of insulin resistance returned. So if you take it as a supplement, you need to take it continuously. It's not a one and done situation. And look, it is in food. The top 3 sources are eggs, broccoli, and green beans. But for most people, supplementation is necessary. So consider chromium. Okay, so the last vitamin/mineral to talk about is magnesium. Geez, it seems like magnesium is good for everything. And yet almost every client in my practice, when I look at their food journal, they're not getting nearly enough. So what does magnesium do? Well, it helps keep us calm. It helps us sleep. But it is also a secret weapon for managing blood sugar. Magnesium is actually directly involved in the secretion and effective use of insulin. So again, you can get it from food. Spinach, almonds, and tuna are the top 3 sources. But if you're not eating those and you don't want to eat those, then I suggest looking into a supplement as magnesium glycinate or citrate. So those are the vitamins and minerals that you should make sure that you're getting enough of to help boost your ability to effectively process your foods into fuel: vitamin D, chromium, and magnesium. So now let's talk about a couple of natural compounds that are really good hacks for improving blood sugar. The first is apple cider vinegar. So before a high-carb meal, try taking 1 to 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar mixed into a glass of water. And what it does is it can slow the digestion of carbs and reduce the blood sugar spike that follows. So I actually use this sometimes if I'm going to eat a meal with a lot of carbs. I did this for a video actually called Have Your Cake Without a Glucose Spike, where I eat cake and then apple cider vinegar, and then I look at my glucose readings on a continuous glucose monitor. And it did help. So just don't go overboard on the apple cider vinegar. Too much can irritate your stomach and tooth enamel. Now, there are also apple cider vinegar pills, and people often ask me if those are as effective. And although those are easier to take, they aren't quite as effective as the liquid. Now, why is that? Well, apparently the concentration of acetic acid in the liquid apple cider vinegar is more readily absorbed in the stomach, slowing down digestion and glucose absorption. So try to stick to the liquid form and use it when necessary. The next supplemental compound you can use is my personal favorite. It's berberine. So berberine is it's a bitter tasting and yellow compound that's extracted from plants like barberry and tree turmeric. And it has a truly amazing ability to help with blood sugar. So much so that it's been said to be as effective as prescription metformin, which is a drug that's often used for people with diabetes and even prediabetes. But whereas metformin helps to lower glucose levels, berberine can do that as well, but it can also help increase insulin levels. So it kind of depends on the situation. Now, I like to keep a few berberine in my purse so that if I'm out at a restaurant and I know that I'm going to eat more carbs than usual, then I just take one. And I've also tested it with a CGM, which I encourage you to do, and it absolutely helps prevent glucose spikes. So my only caution with berberine for you is that it can cause stomach discomfort in some people. And I notice this if I take it multiple days in a row. So probably for most people, it's an occasional remedy, but a really good one. So that wraps up the vitamins, minerals, and supplement hacks. Let's now dive into some simple lifestyle changes you can make instead of changing your diet. So the first is about meal timing. Not what you eat, but rather when you eat. Now, some people will call this intermittent fasting, but I like to call it an eating window because it sounds less painful without the word fasting. So most people don't know that if you give your body a break from producing insulin, which is what gets secreted each time you eat, then you become more insulin sensitive. This is also related to your body's circadian rhythm, which our modern eating of 18 plus hours a day really messes with. And I won't go into the circadian rhythm stuff, but you can check out the work of Sachin Panda if you want to know more. He has a great book out called The Circadian Code. But basically, if you can narrow your eating window down to a 12 or even a 14-hour window, that will help you. So if you eat breakfast at 7 a.m., just make sure you're done eating dinner by 7 p.m. And then try not to snack before bed because that really has a way of increasing your morning blood sugar the following morning. So then let's merge into another timing tip with food, and that is macronutrient timing. So the macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And just let me give you some examples here. So if you're eating a dinner of chicken breast, avocado slices, and a roll, the chicken breast is protein, the avocado is mostly fat, and the roll is mostly carbohydrates. So given that the carbs are the real trigger to elevated blood sugar, if you can just eat the chicken breast and avocado first, then eat the roll last, you'll be helping out your blood sugar because the protein and fat will help slow down digestion and spread out that surge of glucose that the roll is going to create. So you're not changing any food, you're just changing the order you eat it. And if you could try to get into a habit of this, it can really help prevent blood sugar spikes and to stabilize your insulin production. So the next tip I want to talk about is exercise. But before you think, exercise, of course, I've heard that before, I want to implore you to listen because I want to talk about the type of exercise you're doing. And what I'm going to say may be very different than what you've thought in the past. So the type of exercise you're doing is important to glucose metabolism. I mean, if you're going to exercise, you might as well be doing the right type for your situation, right? So there are two types of exercise, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic is what is often called cardio, and anaerobic is short, high-intensity bursts of activity. And now, while both types are ultimately great for blood sugar, there is a slight advantage to one of them, and that's anaerobic. Anaerobic is the type of exercise where you're doing quick bursts and includes resistance training. So resistance training doesn't have to be lifting weights. It's anything that creates resistance. So it can be yoga, Pilates, squats, or even walking with a weighted vest. If you have limited time for exercising, and really, who doesn't, then prioritize resistance training. So also, let's talk about zone 2 training. So zone 2 is a type of cardiovascular exercise where your heart rate is at 60 to 70% of its maximum. So the easiest way to determine this is with the talk test. If you can hold a conversation or even just say a long sentence out loud and you can say about 3 to 5 words before needing to take a breath, then you're probably in zone 2. And this level of exertion is really best for metabolic health. So much so that some scientists say that 80% of your cardio exercise should be in that zone 2 range. So if you've been thinking you need to be doing spin classes and boot camps at sunrise, you really don't. Just focus on some good resistance training and zone 2 cardio, and you will be optimizing your exercise for blood sugar balance. Next, I want to talk about sleep. So you may not know this, but staying up late to watch a movie when you have to get up early the next day has an effect on your blood sugar. That's right, because when you don't get enough sleep, your body produces more cortisol, which is a hormone that will give you more energy, but will also increase your blood sugar. So really aiming for 7 to 9 hours a night will not only help you be a rested person, but will also help your blood sugar. And if you know you have insomnia or sleep apnea and you've been putting off getting help for it, this is your official notice to see your doctor and take care of it, because it's not just causing red eyes, it's increasing your blood sugar. Okay, so here we are at the last tip, tip number 10. And some of the detail here is going to surprise you. The tip is around stress management. So yes, stress also has an effect on blood sugar because just like sleep, stress will cause cortisol to be secreted. Cortisol is a really effective hormone for giving you more energy when you need it, but the problem is that energy needs a fuel source, and that fuel source is stored sugar from your liver. It's called glycogen. So cortisol is a good news, bad news helper in our bodies. Stress management is important, and it doesn't have to be boring. I actually like to call it stress rejuvenation, because who doesn't want to be experiencing some rejuvenation? And you can choose from a ton of different ideas, from reading a book or doing a recorded hypnosis from places like Hypnosis Downloads, or walking in nature, doing an art project. These things all qualify as stress rejuvenation. And there are 2 other ideas that are not only rejuvenation and very in right now, but also have an extra boost of blood sugar benefits. And that is sauna and cold therapy. That's right, a sauna has been shown in studies to help mimic exercise benefits for the body and increase insulin sensitivity. And then on the other end, Cold therapy also can increase insulin sensitivity. So, the latest trend of people doing quick ice baths gets multiple benefits: improved circulation, mood elevation, also known as stress rejuvenation, and better blood sugar. So, those are two unique ways to get some stress relief and improve glucose metabolism. However, if you're taking any medication, make sure you check with your doctor before using a sauna or cold therapy. Okay, so there you go, 10 ways that don't require you to change your diet, but will help your blood sugar. And if you have prediabetes and you want to avoid the top 5 mistakes that people typically make when they get that diagnosis, then check out my video right there. If these ideas have lessened the doom and gloom feelings of changing your diet, please give me a like, comment, and follow for more blood sugar and prediabetes tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.